What's up everyone on the internet? Think it makes video party. I am so excited to upload this one for you guys because this video we're going to be taking a look at a nice little anime called Otaku Elf. So this is an anime that got really overshadowed last year by some heavy hitters because by the time they came out, you had returning shows like Demon Slayer Season 4 and the Konosuba spin-off series, and then you had new shows that were getting very popular like Oshinoko and Heavenly Delusion. So I can understand why not a lot of people heard about this anime, but one of the reasons why I liked it so much was the overall premise where you have this typical slice of life setting, but you have this shy, nerdy, introverted elf living in modern day Tokyo. And I like how all this was explained within the first few minutes of episode 1, where back in ancient Japan, these elves were summoned to our world to serve as deities for each prefecture in the country. And after seeing that little introduction, I realized this is essentially a reversed isekai. Instead of us going to the magical world, we're bringing someone from the magical world to our world. So this anime is mainly centered around Koito, who is a high school student who just took over the job as priestess for a family shrine in Tokyo. Then you have Elda, who is this 600-year-old elf and is the local deity for all the shrines in Tokyo who Koito has to chaperone every day, and one would not have a problem with managing an elf, except that Elda is practically a shut-in nerd who refuses to leave her shrine. Now, one of the things I liked about these two characters is how they are both polar opposites, and yet they use each other for their own personal gain, because while Elda is essentially immortal, she needs Koito to do her daily things like go to the grocery, pick up this game for me, pick up these figures for me. So while Elda is using Koito as her errand girl, Koito has her uses for Elda, given how she's essentially a walking history book who she uses for her school daily needs. And I love how you have these two characters playing off one another, because while one is extroverted with plans to take on the world, the other is introverted who refuses to leave the safety of her room, which leads to some pretty good comedy. Speaking of which, that's another aspect of the show that really caught me by surprise, because never before have I seen a shy, nerdy elf character, because when we hear the word elf, we think of a graceful, elegant character. So to have an elf who is obsessed with anime, manga, and video games, that's a funny combination. One of the other things I also liked about this anime was the overall setting, given how there are multiple shrines throughout the entire prefecture of Tokyo, so there are several episodes where we do see these girls explore more of the prefecture, and I loved how they use real locations. Now, I shouldn't be surprised given how a Tokyo-themed anime used real Tokyo locations, but after coming back from our trip to Japan, it just brought back a lot of good memories. And I like how some of these locations, like Tokyo Skytree, have actual plot points to serve the story. Another thing I enjoyed was that we do get to see more elves appear in the show who have their own different personalities. And what's funny is that while Elda is the shut-in nerd, all the other elves have their own problems. I mean, one of them has a gambling addiction, while the other one pretty much acts like a child, despite being hundreds of years old. So seeing different elves with different quirks adds a little more flavor to the comedy. Now, aside from all the humor, there are several sentimental moments throughout the season, and most of it revolves around Elda. Given how she has lived for hundreds of years, she clearly has outlived a lot of humans, and while that may sound morbid, to the Japanese, they see her as a sign that no matter how much the city changes, one thing is for sure, Elda will always be there. And what also puts this character in a unique position is that she has basically lived with Koito's family for decades, so she sees some resemblance of her lost friends in Koito. One last thing I enjoyed about this anime was the overall growth you see in both Elda and Koito, because despite being over 600 years old and pretty much stuck in her secluded ways, there are times where we do see Elda try to step out of her comfort zone and be more social for her and her friend. Now when you look at Koito, while she still may be a child, there are times where she has to be the adult for both her and Elda, which often leads to her seeing that it's okay to goof around every now and then. And by the time the season was done, you see how both these characters really do need each other. So overall, I had a really good time with this anime, but the one thing that kind of threw me off was the ending, which feels so abrupt and it leaves you a little bit baffled. But thankfully, there was an after credit scene that felt more like an actual ending, and after looking at how the season ended, it feels like this was a one-done sort of thing. Now, on the one hand, I am a little bit upset because I had a lot of fun with this anime, and I would love to see these characters go on more adventures. But on the other hand, looking at how the way things ended, it feels like it was a nice subtle way to close the book on this story. Would I love a season 2? Yes, but you know what? I am happy with how everything was wrapped up. So if you're looking for something to watch tonight that's funny and really does bring out your inner nerd, you should definitely check out this anime. And with only 12 episodes, it is super easy to binge through. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. That was my overall review on Otaku Elf. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button to get updates from this channel. I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.